I'm Mark Ramsey, and I'm talking today to Andy Ruback. Who the heck is Andy Ruback, you might ask? Well, Andy is the guy who has unlocked the secrets to monetizing online radio. Isn't that right, Andy?
Yeah, things are looking in that direction right now for our
All right.
market.
Well, Andy is the general manager of NRG Media's Lincoln, Nebraska cluster. And now, why? First of all, Andy, I have to ask you, how is the secret? How is it that the secret to monetizing online radio emerges from Lincoln, Nebraska?
Well, um, one thing that we understood is that we absolutely wanted to play in this space, but we also didn't want to play in this space just because we felt we had to play in this space. We wanted to play in this space because it's the right thing to do for our brands and the right thing to do, more importantly, for business. And so we went on a journey. Part of the journey, part of the benefits of the journey that we went on was the fact that we didn't turn on the streams prematurely. We just turned on the streams 2 weeks ago. And one of the advantages is, we were always upset that we weren't streaming. But what it did is, Chuck and Mary, who I work for at NRG, they wanted a model, they wanted a plan, which is right. We wanted to figure out a way how to monetize this. And so by not turning our stream on early and producing crap and covering our commercial breaks with a bunch of PI and whatever other garbage you could find out there, we actually went on a path and a journey to see if we couldn't put a model together at work that worked, that also gave us really 4 new radio stations. And that's kind of how we went about it. And we went through an entire process, and then ultimately it came down to 3 questions that formed our plan. Those 3 questions were, I'm going to make sure I read it verbatim from my plan. Is, can this be a long-term profit center?
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Okay. Number 2 is, can Fred Monick understand it? Fred is I'll just say he's up there in age as a seller, and he's unbelievable. Okay, and he's an analogy. He really is an analogy. He's an analogy for the guy that operates a local business down the street. He's an analogy for I believe that I'm going to say this, an ad agency that might not understand this. He's just an analogy for simplicity, because if he can sell it, somebody else can understand it. So that was a really important part of the process. And the other thing is, can we do this within our current headcount? And every part of the plan had to answer those questions well. We have an at-work station, and it's a monster in the market. And we wanted to do something different and give the online experience something different. So one thing that we're doing is we're not doing any PSA filler, not 1 second of PSA filler. So if we don't have a commercial to fill that time, we're filling it with content. We're doing custom 30, 60, and 2-minute content. So, for example, one of the things we're doing on B1073 is a thing called, do you remember when this song was #1? It's just, and we'll give an open with the station. We'll give a little bit of history. We'll play as long as we can with the song. Maybe it's a minute, and then we'll go back into whatever else we're doing. We're doing on our hit station, which primarily does 70s music. We're giving backstories, like detailed backstories about, hey, maybe it's a story about Stevie Wonder and his car accident and his first Grammy Award. On our country station, Froggy 98, we don't play a lot of local music on our terrestrial air. We just never have. This gives us a chance to play local music and then tie it back into the website. And now we have a great clearinghouse for local country artists that we're playing on our stream. So they're different than what we're doing on air. We literally have to think of these as different radio stations. Otherwise, this extra set of inventory that we have, we don't have a great value to it other than just, maybe some numbers that we're listening on the radio or now listening online. So we wanted to give a unique experience.
Now, okay, let's unpack that a little bit. So in terms of the actual between the breaks, okay, that stuff
Yes.
we call the content on the radio station, is that the same online as it is on air?
Yes.
Okay.
We play the same music. For example, we play the same music. Where we really get different, and again, we're walking before we run. Where we're really different is in the cover.
Okay. Now, in terms of so you pull out all the PSAs and you put in actual bona fide content in its place. A lot of broadcasters are going to watch this and say, why should I bother doing that, Andy?
Um, well, Number one, because we're adding to the listener's experience. And remember, we're only covering the commercials that we can't sell with our interactive plans. And so, what it really means, say we're selling half of our inventory on interactive. We're a little less than that right now. We're covering 60% of what would be the commercial break on air with content, and that's a lot more. That's a lot more programming that happens on air right now. We're just doing it just a little bit differently.
So what value does that provide to you in terms of dollars and cents? How does that make a tangible difference to you when it comes time to add up the numbers?
Because it gives people a reason to go to your online radio station, and and right now we're just kind of at the beginning of this. But as we grow what we're doing here, there's going to be more and more people that listen to us online, listening to the car, listening in their car, listening on their mobile phone, or whatever device they want to do. It's our job to create our brand extension is all this content that we're creating, and I don't really care. We don't really care how they get it. Our job is to take our brand and extend our brand, and for the user to decide how they want to get it. And so now they can get it in a different way. It's similar to our core brand, but it's different. It's not exactly the same. And
Now,
it's really is a brand extension.
do you foresee creating brands that are unique to your digital platform that you can promote via your terrestrial stations?
Yes, and I think that's that's kind of my step two in this process. Is we're in the planning stages right now for some internet only programming. They can come to our stream and they can say, okay, I'm going to listen to the music that you're playing right now on your country station, or they can choose a different path when they visit us online and go to the morning show after show, if you will, or some variety of things like that, or the morning the sports show that's internet only, because hopefully some of this stuff that we develop online, I also think in some regards, at least right now, we can develop it good enough that it's a great way to test things to go on the regular terrestrial signal too. And I think there's some value that way too.
Now, Andy, let's talk about results, though. Results in terms of the audience you've been able to attract and the dollars you are projecting to produce from this.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, it comes down to how we started to sell this. We turned on our FM streams on September the 1st, officially to the public. We've been betaing and getting the technology up and running, but September 1st we turned on the streams. And before we turned on the streams, we had $67,000 in pre-sold revenue. There's a few, right now we're in the 90s, and easily next year we'll do 150 grand in interactive streaming revenue,
Okay,
and we did not trade $1.
Let me stop you right there. So you're telling me that you had pre-sold dollars. Now, how much of this was borrowed from dollars that would have gone over the air?
Never. One thing that I'm really, really picky about is trading dollars. We do not think we've traded one single dollar. We're seeing it in budget trends. I mean, as we're beating budget, we're beating budget by just that much more now. I mean, there's nothing been traded here, not $1. Otherwise, what sense does this make? I'm not doing this so, hey, look at me, I'm looking. We're doing this because we're actually trying to make a profit, a real profit, on this new line extension, this new business extension.
Okay, but still I have to ask you, how do you pre-sell something like this and get that much money in a market like Lincoln out of the box without trading the dollars?
Well, it's how we've packaged it. It's interesting. Every one of these we sold as a package, and here's what the package looks like. Okay, in a nutshell, let's take an FM station, one of our 3 FMs. There's only 14 advertisers allowed to buy the stream. The 14 advertisers get 14 minutes a day for 6 months. That's the package. Okay, so they can have 28. They can have 28 30s 24/7. They can have 7 2-minutes throughout the day, and it's a 6-month deal. With that, those same 14 advertisers, that's the max. We can have, they share one of the 14 gateway pre-rolls when we open up the player. So there's only 14 different people that can be part of the player. Also on our websites, we have some ads on the bottom of our websites some banner positions that are on every single page on the website. Those 14 advertisers also get essentially 1/5 of 3 of those ads. So we've taken an interactive plan to them. Not everybody can buy Google and buy the big headbands in your local newspaper. So we took a different approach and we said, okay, how can we make this low risk and let people play in that space? We did not get greedy. Our average package is $370. That's our average monthly package. But if you multiply that times 14, times 4 radio stations, times 12 months out of the year, at $350, that adds up really, really quick. And we sold, I think right now we're up to 20 packages. That's $86,000 as of right now. We've been on for 2 weeks. And the other thing that's great about that, and remember, $350 at a time. And I don't care if you're in New York and you do it at $1,100 a time. Okay, $1,100 times 14 packages,
Okay,
times
Andy,
your cluster of 3 radio stations. I don't know, it adds up simply.
I believe you, and I understand all that. So where do you see this going? I mean, what's your expectation? What's your budget or your expectation in 2011 for this, given that you're ramping up in the fourth quarter of 2010?
$150,000 in just those packages alone.
And that's out of that's out of your group in Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, in your estimation, how does that compare to what the average radio cluster is doing in a market even considerably larger than yours?
Well, the only point of reference I have is from is particularly from our vendors, and our vendors tell us that if it was a billboard chart, we'd be at the top of the chart. That's kind of the analogy I've heard, and it's fairly surprising to me.
And do you feel like you're doing anything that's extraordinarily difficult for people to get their hands around as broadcasters?
The hardest part about it, and the name of my presentation was called The Journey to Simplicity. The hardest part about it was getting it simple. So let me give you another important part about why we did 14 packages that all look the same way across the whole, across the package. Another way is because we're only entering one order 14 different times. So now we don't have to hire a new traffic person to handle all this traffic and put together these 4 new logs every day. We have the same packages. We enter the order one time. The production department, they don't have to enter all this copy every Friday and do all these other things. Those types of considerations were as important as anything to the process, because remember, back to one of those questions that I asked, how do we do this without affecting the head count? And these are 4 new radio stations. And thinking about it any way less than that, to me, is a flaw in a strategy.
Andy, I guess I have a final question, and that is, the sales side is one side. The other side is the consumer side. And what are you doing to encourage and, make certain, motivate audiences to come to these brands, to have something there that attracts them, and to make sure that they're actually attracted to what you have? Because obviously all the messaging in the world is irrelevant if it doesn't connect with consumers on the other end, right?
Yeah, obviously one of the ways that we're promoting this is we're using our regular stations to promote the stream, and we're not using the word stream. I say the word stream, we're almost always using the word online radio. We're almost always saying, come listen to your favorite radio station online. A little bit different, but using the word online radio. And so we are walking, but we're walking at a profit, and we're walking at a significant profit.
And Andy, so I had recently a major broadcasting group head say to me outright, flat out, he said, nobody has ever made money from online radio. To him, you would say what?
He's wrong.
Andy Ruback is the general manager of NRG Media's Lincoln cluster. Andy, if people want to send you a note of congratulations or question, who do they write to?
Send it to me at Andyr, A-N-D-Y-R, at broadcasthouse.com.
Andy, thank you and congratulations.
Thanks, Mark.